Great. We'll go ahead and start now. Again, we really appreciate everybody's attending this webinar on EndoSound and the future of endoscopic ultrasound. We've got a fairly short presentation, concise presentation for you. We're excited to deliver. But without further ado, I'll go ahead and kick things off. So my name is Scott Aldrich. I'm the CEO at EndoSound. I've been in the medical device space for about 20 years and spent the vast majority of that in gastroenterology within that market space. I've worked for larger mid-cap companies down to nano-cap and startups like EndoSound. We've made great progress and strides with numerous technologies and bringing them to market. But I'm excited to be here today presenting what I see as the most compelling product that I've been able to lead to date. But I'm also here with my Chief Commercial Officer, Josh Cohn. If you'd like to quickly introduce yourself. Oh, there we
There
go.
we go. Yep, there we go. Yeah, name is Josh Cohn, Chief Commercial Officer at EndoSound. I've been in the GI space for almost 20 years. Spent my time primarily with one of the large GI OEMs that sell endoscopes. But pleased to be here and happy to share the success that we've had here at EndoSound so far.
Great. Thanks, Josh. So we have a short agenda for you. We want to go through the team quickly, and I pulled the milestones up front because I think it's really important to express, the significant progress we've made with a small team, but that are significant overall in terms of, the attributes and contributions to our progress thus far. So go through the unmet needs in our solution, the go-to-market strategy, our next generation product, give you a little bit of a sneak peek there, and then other investment considerations. And then we'll finally finish up with a Q&A. We'll keep everybody muted to start, but feel free to add any comments or questions in the chat box. And then as well, we'll open the lines up and unmute everybody for questions at the end of the call. So we've got a great experienced leadership team. I introduced myself already, but a couple of the founders that I'd like to just quickly talk about, Dr. Steven Steinberg, who's a high volume therapeutic gastroenterologist, and Scott Corbett, who's a serial entrepreneur, had multiple successful exits. But we've got a ton of experience within the GI space, within medical device space, ultrasound and gastroenterology. So we have the team to be able to get it done. Again, I wanted to pull the milestones that really demonstrate our success up to the front because I think they're substantial and I think they're really strong reasons to believe overall. We applied for and received FDA breakthrough device designation prior to our FDA clearance. That's an application process where there are a great deal of different device companies that submit their products for breakthrough device. Very few actually get accepted into we'll call it a program. And it's funny, only 10% of those or so actually make it through to even FDA clearance. But it is a big accolade as the FDA denotes any companies that they give or products they give breakthrough device designation as a significant advancement over anything already existing in the market. So even by being able to get that award overall, it's really a vote of confidence somewhat from the FDA, but gives us other benefits associated with the program. We also applied for, presented to, and were awarded the Innovation of the Year Award for both the ASGE and the AGA. Those were separate, different applications and presentations that we were awarded. But the ASGE and the AGA are the two major GI societies or gastroenterology societies that represent all gastroenterologists and industry, for societies. We had early commercial experience down in Latin America. We did 100 plus procedures down there. And the reason it's important is because it really informed our commercial strategy in the United States. We learned a lot in our time down there, both from a product perspective, but also a use perspective and clinical perspective overall. So it's really informative in terms of bringing that product to market and being successful in the US, but it also started to inform what our next generation product might look like. We had an investment from the GI Innovation Fund led by the AGA. Again, another vote of confidence from a major GI society overall. We received, I had a Series A lead investor, VC, out of Europe called Geo MedTech Ventures. We had a licensing agreement that we signed with a major strategic in the gastroenterology space for $5 million that was non-dilutive. We recognized early on with our procedures down in Latin America that there was a really strong need for a product like EVS in Latin America. We always knew it to be true, but we were able to parlay our time down there into signing some initial distribution agreements to start commercial activity even before FDA clearance down in Latin America. We received FDA clearance in really what we see as almost record time. We did that in sort of an expedited fashion, and really a testament to our regulatory team, quality team, and engineering team as we brought that product to market. The transitional pass-through payment is a system that's established by CMS. For the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services. But what that does is another application process for new devices, new novel devices that recognizes those devices that, again, are novel and bring expanded patient care, innovative patient care to help ease the pathway to success for those products. So the transitional pass-through payment allots a C code, which allows you to get reimbursed, the facility and the facility to get reimbursed for the use of the device. So that's above and beyond the procedural term coding that's already existing. So there's the existing reimbursement associated with the product, but this is above and beyond that, which we were awarded. That code lasts for 3 years, and we're excited about the progress we've made, in help in creating an even stronger ROI overall. We've had about 650 plus procedures done successfully, all over. But those procedures are really a testament to the growing volume we're seeing in our account, the usability of our product. But we love to see and compound that number on a monthly basis as we move forward. And finally, what's almost more important or as important as anything else is the establishment of independent accounts that are repeat revenue accounts. So the importance of seeing our accounts become wholly independent and seeing more of those same store sales that don't require additional attention and time from our team. And it's really how we're going to be able to scale the organization. So if you're not familiar with EUS or endoscopic ultrasound, it's a pretty simple concept. So there's video endoscopy, which is white light endoscopy, camera, imaging like you would see on a normal phone or camera in general, obviously done and captured at the end of a flexible endoscope. But we also combine that with standard ultrasound. And obviously, standard ultrasound is something from the outside in. You'd see it often in obstetrics, where you're looking at images of a baby. But that ultrasound technology is miniaturized, and it's added to the end of a flexible endoscope. Overall, that product exists in the market today. It's what we call a legacy product. But we take that technology and that core innovation, and we sort of bring it to the market in a different way. So first and foremost, the existing or what we call legacy technologies in the market are deficient in many ways, and there really haven't been any significant advancements since 1995 or the mid 90s. But the first and foremost is the exorbitant cost associated with these devices. It's about $500,000 just to start to offer endoscopic ultrasound in a facility. Additionally, they're very costly to maintain over time. There are design flaws that have led to FDA recalls and safety concerns associated with cleaning these devices. And obviously, because of their size, they're very inflexible and often reside in singular procedure rooms within the GI lab. So how do we do things different? How do we bring a different spin on that same innovation to market? What we do is we're a bolt-on technology. So we add on the ultrasound capabilities to any existing standard gastroscope already found in the market today. By doing so, we've become extremely more affordable overall. So we can provide this technology at a fraction of the cost of those legacy systems. We also don't have the same mechanisms to control needle and articulation overall, so we decrease the safety risk and really eliminate the safety risk and increase the safety profile of the procedure. And finally, from a flexibility standpoint, being at the core only the size of a hard drive, our product is easily transported from room to room, lab to lab, or even campus to campus. So if you look at endoscopic ultrasound and you look at it sort of its general form or its simplest form, it's most often used to screen for things like pancreatic cancer and liver disease, but it also allows the ability to take biopsy of masses in the chest or the abdomen. It also allows for treatment of certain types of cancers. What's great for patients as we expand access outside of the core market of hospitals only and really into the ambulatory surgery center, we find it to be a much preferred location overall for patients and providers, but it provides far greater access, reduces out-of-pocket expenses, it's a safer site of care, and overall there's reduced wait times for procedures to get done. But as we see GI cancers grow year over year, it's in accounting for almost 26% of the overall cancer incidences. There's really a need for faster diagnosis and more access to these core technologies. But by providing far greater access, we really bring the ability to diagnose sooner and a much quicker pathway to and speed to care. So now I'd like to pass things off to Josh to talk a little bit more about our go-to-market strategy.
So thank you, Scott. What does access in the United States for endoscopic ultrasound look like today? Today, the majority of hospitals, 80% of them, do not have endoscopic ultrasound. So what does this mean? This means patients have to go to large academic medical centers or large urban healthcare systems. Ambulatory surgery centers, 97% of them don't have it. Why is this important? Because the majority of endoscopies that are done in this country are actually done in the ambulatory surgery center. Because of the large cost of traditional legacy EUS systems, these procedures are not being performed in a safer and less expensive setting. So what does EndoSound do? It provides an ambulatory surgery center to start a new service line. It makes the case more affordable for patients because ASCs are less expensive than hospitals, and it helps payers actually save money because the cost for them to have these procedures done in an ambulatory surgery center is significantly less than that of a hospital. So we're really expanding the access of this critical technology into the ASCs, but there's also opportunities in the hospitals as well. But we cover the gaps in legacy technologies, but what we're really excited about is we expand the opportunity in echo endoscopy. When we were founded by our two founders, Scott and Steve, they really were looking to address the 600,000 EUS procedures that are done in this country today. And the market opportunity for those 600,000 is enormous. But what we've learned is we have a platform type technology that can take this technology more to the masses. What you see on the left-hand side over here with the esophagus, stomach, and the duodenum is a traditional standard EGD exam, where the physician looks at the esophagus, the stomach, the duodenum. The picture on the right is an exam that also evaluates the liver, the gallbladder, and the pancreas. As a patient, which exam would you prefer? The choice is clear. You would prefer the more thorough exam that also evaluates your liver, your gallbladder, and your pancreas. And that's what echo endoscopy does. So there are 8 million EGDs done in this country a year. If we just captured 20% of those EGDs and made them a more thorough exam, we would raise the EUS number of procedures in this country from 600 to 1.6 million EUS procedures. This will lead to an earlier diagnosis for patients, fewer tests down the line. It'll eventually lower costs and it's better healthcare.
That's a
So
great
how do we
point.
do this?
Yeah, so one other thing I'd just like to add is there's a lot of clinical data that already exists to support, the echo endoscopy principles you're talking about. What they found is that it's been almost a 40% find rate on those procedures that incorporated ultrasound or endoscopic ultrasound in that index endoscopy as Josh described. So sorry, I just wanted to add that little tidbit of
Yep,
validation.
great. Next slide. So, what is our revenue model? A lot of people ask us, so how do we go to market? Well, we have a low capital cost upfront, and it's really a razor blade model. The low upfront capital cost really minimizes that obstacle for adoption, especially as you compare that to what legacy systems cost. And we really put our focus on that disposable, that recurring revenue. This recurring revenue model, this set disposable price, also allows our clients to have predictable financial outcomes as far as ROI is concerned. And as Scott alluded to earlier, in many cases, this disposable is covered by the transitional pass-through code. So the cost per procedure for a particular doctor might actually be zero. So we limit the barrier of entry through the capital cost by reducing it significantly, and we really focus on a razor blade model for our revenue. So where's our commercial progress, momentum, and focus been over these last year and a half or so? It's really been on the ASC market, and we've had 13 total installs. In that time frame, we've also been able to sign 6 distribution agreements in Latin America and the EMEA. We have recently signed an agreement with AmSurg. AmSurg is a manager of over 200 GI centers across the country, one of the largest in the country. We're really excited about that. And last but not least, we've now installed an EVS system in an academic medical center in Rush in Chicago and a rural hospital in Texas. So we're really hitting all the different sites of care and finding a value proposition for each one of those sites of care. And what have some of those outcomes been of our focus? We really have perfected our business model so that we believe we can scale it. We've also heard the voice of customer and preparation for our commercial readiness in Gen 2, and we've cultivated a really healthy pipeline. And why does all of that excite us? Because we have a 90% win rate. When we go to accounts that evaluate our technology, we win. We've done over 600 procedures to date with no issues. And that echo endoscopy that we're trying to build, it's actually been proven in many of our clients where their volume has actually increased by 30%. That EUS volume that they did the year previous has now increased by 30%. So kind of where are we going from here? Gen 2 is a big deal for us. We're making improvements in navigation, usability, optionality, and aesthetics, all things that our current users using Gen 1 and are happy with have asked us to address. And we've addressed that in Gen 2. We plan to release Gen 2 later this year, and we believe this will accelerate our ability to scale our revenue, scale our install base, and actually go after new markets abroad.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. So just kicking back in, a lot of the questions we get is like, why is now a good time to invest in EndoSound? So we've got a number of great, strong tailwinds associated with our efforts today. Right now, we've got a clear unmet need in the market. All of Josh's and the commercial team's efforts have really proven out that there is a clear need for a product like EVS. And we've also proven that there's a substantial market size, not just in the beachhead of capturing some of those 600,000 procedures, EUS procedures that are done every year in the US, like Josh had mentioned, but also in our potential to uniquely grow the market. So not just take a piece of the pie, but grow that pie with echo endoscopy. There's also ideal market dynamics. So right now, there's a great number of procedures that are migrating from the hospital to the ambulatory surgery center. And we currently, EUS is not one of those products. But again, because of those barriers associated with cost overall and size. So we eliminate those barriers and can ride that wave of migration of procedures. We just recently had another patent awarded to us, which is our strongest and broadest overall. So we have a substantial strengthening of our IP overall with over 10 awarded patents. We're nearing the launch of our Gen 2 product. So again, we're going to launch this product by the end of the year. We're really excited about that, but we see that as a significant inflection point in our business to begin to scale significantly. We also see a significant or expected valuation increase. Since our last round that we've raised, we've had FDA clearance, we've had the transitional pass-through code, we've had hundreds of procedures done in the United States. We've had successful ROI and procedural growth. So there's a lot of really strong progress that we've made in the last 12 to 18 months. But we see the Series B that we would launch into later this year as being in a growth nature. We also have a number of strategics that are actively engaged in our technology and with our company. We have a number of regular meetings with major GI strategics that are very interested in the technology and want to be kept apprised of updates. And we continue to do that. And we continue to do our best to keep those at bay and keep those strategics excited, but also really make sure we stick to our strategy and our thoughtful approach to the market so that we can hit this inflection point, show strong commercial growth, and really grow the overall value of our offering before any sort of exit. We've got very strong national and international key opinion leaders. This is just some. I mean, they're very willing to openly engage with the market about their perception of our product and the meaningfulness of what we're trying to do. We also have a lot of key advocates overall that aren't necessarily clinicians, but thought leaders in the market, leadership of major strategics, or innovators that have years of entrepreneurial or product launch experience that we're proud to have as our sort of advisors and advocates. So obviously we're on Wefunder right now, which is why we're doing this. We noticed there was a strong inclination from a lot of our internal network of people that really wanted to engage and be part of the story that was EndoSound. By entering into this Reg CF and getting into crowdfunding, we really opened the doors to sort of limitless investors to be part of our community and really part of our team as we go forward. So we've got an offering on the Wefunder site right now, which is to be part of our convertible note. That convertible note will convert to the Series B once we raise that later this year. But we've got this open bridge round, which is a 20% discount on our next round. It's 5% interest. It's a $45 million valuation cap on that and a maturity of December 2025 right now. Right now, our use of funds, which is going to be similar to our early tranches of the Series B funding, but it'll be to put toward the Gen 2 product and launch, scale our commercial organization and an early adoption, and ramp up our inventory to support that launch. The QR code on the right will take you to our Wefunder investment page. We welcome everybody to take a look at that, to take a look at all of the other statistics and updates we posted there. But there's a lot of compelling and strong information to better inform your investment decision. Some other just notable investors, we're really proud of the number of users that we have that have invested in this organization. We named a bunch of them here. There are additional ones. But our users being part of our progress and our family, if you will, really has been meaningful. And a lot of this has been their outreach to us to be part of this and their recognition of our ability to grow. We
Scott,
also have
I want to
yeah, please.
Scott, I want to make sure I point out something too about these users. None of these users were actually investors before they used the equipment. So all of these investors have actually come in through the Wefunder round. And we're not existing investors that chose to buy EndoSound. It's the reverse. So I think that's important. Sorry.
No, absolutely. No, it's a really important point. We also have a bunch of individuals who are investors that have significant domain expertise. We've got 20 plus gastroenterologists that are investors and are on the cap table. We've got another 25 or so GI industry experts. I had mentioned some of them on the prior slide that are advocates, but also investors. But it's a really telling to us that we have something really significant on our hands when these people that we have been shoulder to shoulder with over the years have really put their vote of confidence in their own hard-earned money into our efforts. Again, we're also venture backed. So we have the GeoMedTech Ventures and the AGA Innovation Fund, which both led and invested in our Series A. But since then, we've actually had others participate that are ventures, but more into our crowdfunding. So the evolution of our funding has been interesting over time. But groups like D3VC, and we just recently had commitments from King's Crowd to invest. So we're really getting recognized by some bigger names across the sort of smart money board, if you will. But we're really proud of our accomplishments from a fundraising perspective as well. So anything else you'd add to that, Josh, before we kind of move on? But other than that, we're ready to move on to Q&A.
No, I think that was good. Looking forward to hearing some of the questions that might be out there.
I've just unmuted you. You'll need to take an active role in unmuting yourself, but you're capable of doing that now.
So just a little comment while you guys think about your questions. It's always interesting how they put the best looking guy up in the front of the picture, as you see here at this dinner table. So interesting how you guys chose that picture to put on here. And the one to the right is actually one of our newest users. I actually just got a text a little bit ago from one of our colleagues that's in the field working with them, talking about his volume. His volume is increasing every week, and we're really proud to have him on board.
Hey guys, Brian Lynch here. Quick question. What is the commercial channel in the US that you're going to be going through? Is it 1099s? Are you hiring a dedicated sales team? What's the plan there?
It's a great question. I think it's going to be a combination of both, Brian. We've had a ton of inbound interest from GI industry over really the last even few years, kind of chomping at the bit to come over and kind of work with us. But when we release Gen 2 later this year, the goal will be to do a combination of things. We'll hire direct for sure. But having been in the space, both Scott and I, for about 20 years, there are some 1099s, as you had mentioned, that we respect heavily and that would be no-brainers to bring on board with really good domain knowledge and relationships in their space. So I could imagine a scenario where we hire heavily direct, and we'll use some of those 1099s where it's a no-brainer.
Okay, and just one more question. I do have some GI background, but really I'm heavily involved in the pulmonary space now. Is there a plan for an EBIS version of this, or would it already work with existing bronchoscopes?
Good question. Would not work with existing bronchoscopes. It would be too big. That being said, we've had discussions with our manufacturing partner creating an EBIS type scope or EBIS type platform. We do not believe to be difficult. It's just a matter of time and money. Right now, this is where our focus is, and that pulmonary EBIS scope is definitely a shiny object that is out there trying to distract us. So we appreciate the question. I would imagine one day there will be an EndoSound EBIS solution, just not right now. But it's not a technological hurdle for us. It's something we know we can do. Just a matter of time and money.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Of course.
Yeah, Brian, to that point, I might want to ask you a question, just given your pulmonary experience, if you don't mind. One of the things we thought of doing is right now we kind of have a hybrid model of a disposable that's thrown away and a transducer that we reprocess via high-level disinfection. In the pulmonary space, disposable scopes has become pretty much as close to standard as you can imagine. Would you imagine the market in the pulmonary space being able to be a single-use EBUS probe, or do you think they would be okay reusing it if it were on top of a, say, single-use bronchoscope?
I think they'd be okay. I mean, single-use scopes do well in, say, the ICU settings, but not in the therapeutic settings as much. So for therapeutics, they're used to cleaning bronchoscopes and EBUS scopes. So I think similar to GI, they could easily incorporate that, into their routines.
Okay, thank you.
So this is KP here. I know, good to see you guys, Josh, Patrick, and Scott here as well again.
Hey, KP.
Memory is always good to see you guys. So it's good to hear you guys making the progress you guys are making here as well. And as you guys know, I'm a firm believer of what you guys are doing. And I truly appreciate you guys the focus on the GI space. Nothing against the pulmonology and the bronchoscopy, the EBUS guys side, but I think the focus you guys have is really sharp, really get you going. The main question is okay, what would it take to get over the hurdle here? Because it's slowly brewing. It's like you put water in a pan, you turn the heat on. It's getting there, and I think you guys are getting close to get over the hump where the scalability, the market adoption is coming there as well. So when do you guys think you're going to hit that I wouldn't say bottleneck, that roadmap, that hurdle there, or you overcome that hurdle, or what would it take, or what can I do to help you guys get over that hurdle, right? And I know you guys, you start laughing when I ask it, but it is, I'm serious. I'm happy to help you guys there. So that's what it is, because you guys are getting close to the boiling, the water there, but we're not there yet. That's all I'm saying. It's getting close, but not close enough to say, hey, it's boiling it. So what would it take, and how can I help you?
So if you don't mind, I'll jump in, KP, because I'm out there in the field, right? Hopefully our investors have an appreciation for the fact that, we've been in the space for a long time. We've seen, companies fail and grow too fast, et cetera. We knew what we had in a Gen 1 product. We knew that it was good. We knew we needed to go out into the market and basically prove the ROI, prove that there was a return on the investment for these ASCs. And we did that, right? That's been done. We've proven to the market that these procedures can be done with our endoscope or with our platform in less than 30 minutes, right? That was another thing we really needed to prove, because when you take procedures from the hospital to the surgery center, you can't spend an hour doing a procedure. It's efficiency, right? So we've proven some of the things that we really needed to prove with Gen 1. Or we needed to prove with Gen 1. And now it's time to, as you say, boil the water. And Gen 2 is going to boil the water. It's going to boil the water over. We have met with over a dozen, maybe 20 key opinion leaders, folks that have used our platform and folks that have not used our platform. And the results have been unanimous. Gen 2 and the improvements that we're making to Gen 2 will and should allow us to boil the water. Now, we're going to take the same approach that we did before. We're going to go to Latin America. We're going to do some work under protocols down there to make sure that we're bringing the right messaging and we got everything right. But our engineers are phenomenal. They have experience in the ultrasound space. They have some experience in the endoscopy space. They kind of know what we needed to achieve in Gen 2. And I think we're going to boil the water later on this year, beginning of Q1.
All right. Thank you. And so, I don't know, another dumb question. I know there's a lot of turmoil on the FDA side as well, and I know your Gen 2 has to go to 510K submission process, that probably, right? And this is just anecdotal that I hear a lot of approvals are getting slower nowadays as well, right, wrong, and indifferent. I don't know. How do you guys anticipate? Again, that's what I hear. I don't have hard evidence, but how do you guys anticipate going through that process? And do you guys think that might impact your approval pace there as well, or are you confident you get through it in a heartbeat there as well?
So KP, I'll take that one. So we have obviously regulatory, people in-house. We also have a number of very strong regulatory consultants externally, but all signs point to this being a letter to file. If you know sort of the different stages associated with the potential clearance. So a full 510K, is not going to be necessary because of the changes and design changes we're making aren't substantial enough to warrant a full submission. Now, I'm not saying that that can't change, but as of right now, that's sort of our pathway forward. So we see very little risk associated with it. And even if we did have to submit, because of the strength of our early application, our relationship with the FDA and the Q subs we've had with them, I don't see much risk other than it just taking a little bit longer should we need to go through the full filing. But again, we'll full steam ahead with the letter to file right now.
I have to
I'm
hear
going to
that.
double down, KP. I'm going to double down on what Scott said because they just don't get enough credit, right? And they're so invaluable to every organization, which is our R&D and quality team. They're phenomenal. So I know I just echoed what he said, but there's also a really good example here recently in one of our dialogues with the FDA. Our team turned them around. They came back with questions. They didn't really understand. We educated them. They came back and they were sitting on our side by the end of that call. And that does not happen. That does not happen in the medical device space. But it's a testament to our team's knowledge and their experience and then our relationship that they've built over the last 3 years with the FDA. We love the FDA.
I wouldn't say I love that, but I'm happy to hear what you guys are doing. Like I have confidence in everybody there as well. Don't get me wrong, but I also know from past experience and just think, well, there are some changes going on there, and those things, are sometimes challenging. That's all I'm saying. So I'm glad you guys are doing the right thing. So thank you guys for.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
This is Roger Austin. Thanks for doing this webinar. I've got about 4 or 5 quick questions, if you don't mind.
Please do.
Thanks for joining, Roger. My
Okay,
fellow
sure.
North Carolinian.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. So you mentioned strategic investors. Could you say who those are?
So we've got strategics. When we say strategics, it's really just larger companies within the gastroenterology space. Companies that make their own endoscopes or devices that are used in gastroenterology. But they're all very interested in our technology, not necessarily on our cap table of investors. Really, our strategic investors have become from our venture funding as well as some of our investors who have extensive domain expertise.
Okay, so going back to the strategics who maybe aren't necessarily investors, GI companies like that, are you looking or thinking that perhaps one of those might be interested in acquisition at some point?
Yes, sir. That would be that's our plan as of now, is to increase our traction and valuation as much as possible. But I think given the way companies like ours move forward, acquisition is the most likely exit.
Okay. All right.
And I don't think that's a hypothetical either, Roger. Like we're in active discussions. So it's not that's our plan. We have been in engagement with them, including mutual trips, mutual discussions with voice of customer. So there's a lot of work being done with multiple strategics.
Excellent. So you may have said this, but I missed it if you did. How much is the cost of, I guess, the machine, and then how much is the cost of a scope?
Good question. So what you're looking at in this picture is a good indication of what it is. So the monitor, the cart that you see right there, that also contains the brains inside of that cart, is about approximately $40,000. That's the capital expense, upfront capital expense. And then there's a disposable, and I'm sorry, part of that capital expense also comes two transducers, two probes. You call them scopes. We call them transducers or probes. We provide that to the site, okay, as part of that upfront capital expense. And then they have to buy the disposable. Every time they do a case, they spend $650 for that disposable. Again, that disposable is covered by Medicare and the transitional pass-through code as an additional payment to the site.
Okay. Okay. And who actually right now manufactures your version 1? Who makes your version 1 transducer?
So
it's made in the U.S. It's made in the United States. The transducer is made in the United States. The disposables are made overseas in China.
Okay. And we talked, of course, talking about GI and a little bit about pulmonary, uh, and you said it was a platform technology. Are there any other, I guess, areas of the body that it could be used? I mean, during surgeries, whenever uh, they were running a scope around in the abdomen, could it be useful to have a scope that has ultrasound in there? If even if oh, this is crazy, but an orthopedist is working in somebody's joint, would there be any reason to put a scope in there that could uh, see more?
So
Steve?
So I could take that, and I apologize. I apologize if you hear the Blue Angels practicing during this because they're coming overhead today
Cool.
here in Seattle. So that's what the noise is if it comes. But the answer to your question is our goal is to become all ultrasound inside the body. And so that's GI for now. That's EBIS on the drawing board. We have actually an agreement and an arrangement with an imaging group, French government-sponsored imaging group in Strasbourg, France, to actually look at applications during laparoscopy, during surgeries that occur within the abdomen. So your question is really spot on. It's among the range of applications that we see as being of great interest and potentially of great value to the patient. And here come the Blue Angels.
thanks, Steve.
Is there any therapeutic ultrasound?
So a wide variety of ultrasound is in fact therapeutic, and we spend a bit of time with definitions. So, for example, using ultrasound to look at something obviously is diagnostic. When we look at something and, for example, see a mass, maybe in the pancreas, and take a sample, a biopsy, which occurs with legacy systems and occurs with our system as well, we still sort of put that in the category of diagnostic because we're getting additional information. There's a whole other realm of invasive interventional EUS, which revolves around if you can see something, which is, remember, we're an imaging technology. If you can see something, then you can intervene and deal with something. And so, for example, ultrasound has the ability to see the gallbladder from within the stomach. And so at my hospital now, all of the gallbladders that are infected in high-risk individuals get drained and dealt with by interventional EUS. And a whole host of other kinds of activities have come to the fore. And it's one of actually the most exciting areas in gastroenterology these days, which is if you can see something with ultrasound, what can you bring to bear? We have, for example, radio frequency ablation probes that can be guided by endoscopic ultrasound into a tumor and used to provide heat and to destroy the tumor. A whole host of, we can introduce biological agents into tumors. We can do a whole host of things like that. That's ever expanding. So I think it's a great question. It's a whole area of GI intervention that's among the hottest topics on the on stage these days.
That's very interesting.
Steve, it's Nick Chaklis. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. Quick question. Would the ultrasound be potentially helpful in picking up that ever elusive inlet patch as we're going through the UES in either direction?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. My sense of inlet patches, as you know, they represent gastric mucosa that's in a place where it shouldn't be. But I haven't had a sense that they have any bulk to them. And so, for example, maybe the analogy would be when we look at patients with Barrett's esophagus. I frequently get patients who have, carcinoma in situ for resection, for halo, for whatever. And there are times when we use endoscopic ultrasound to evaluate, to stage, to look for lymph nodes. And my sort of off-the-cuff answer to that question is I don't see a difference. I can't tell a difference between where the lining of the esophagus that is Barrett's type lining, where it intersects with the normal type lining. I don't see an ultrasound difference in those. So I'm guessing that the inlet patch wouldn't show up either, but that's just my guess.
Okay, appreciate it.
Nick, I wasn't sure if that was really you or not, but that is you.
That's me. Yeah.
A legend in the endoscopy space. Thanks for joining.
I'm very intrigued by this. There's all kinds of possibilities here that I'm already running around inside my head.
I'm sure you are.
Can we take a couple of hours offline when you're ready?
Good to see you,
Happy
Nick.
to.
Thanks for joining.
My
Couple
pleasure.
more questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
How about OBGYN? Any use in OBGYN that you foresee?
So I don't know, Steve, if you want to handle this.
Yeah, so a couple of things. One is that our probes, I use our probes, for example, in the rectum. I frequently asked to either deal with prostate problems that involve or are adjacent to that space. And obviously the uterus is right there. Last week I was asked to sample iliac nodes in a patient with a testicular carcinoma, so staging lymph nodes has potential as well. And again, our partners in Strasbourg, France, are very interested in some of the OB/GYN implications. And so that actually is one of the projects that they have on the drawing board, having to do with staging lymph nodes intraoperatively, which lymph nodes to sample, which lymph nodes are likely to be most informative, et cetera. You guys obviously were among the earliest adopters of ultrasound in general, so you're probably the biggest experts around on this call. But I think we have the advantage of looking from the inside out, and sometimes that provides views that are useful in a variety of different ways. And again, part of what Josh mentioned is the shiny object, which is we're really trying to focus on getting our GI platform to the tipping point, and we think we're getting close. And we hope that that will give us the opportunity to look at a variety of other really interesting opportunities, just like the one you mentioned.
Okay. I think last question here. What would you say the technology readiness stage is of your Gen 2? Has it actually been used in a patient yet, or in prototype stage, or where are you?
So it's still in a prototype phase. We have gotten images with the device though. So like that is the first big milestone. But we're rounding the corner to be able to do initial animal procedures and parlay that into in human use. And we have partners in teaching and academia down in Latin America that we use, and as well as the U.S. To perform those procedures. So we're excited to start to make our way into those endeavors very shortly.
Excellent. Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Shandy Mullins, and actually, I'm a pharmacist, so I'm following along with the medical side of things. My dad actually just recently passed from necrotizing pancreatitis, which is what kind of led me to invest. This is my first time kind of investing, so can you guys kind of dumb that down, I guess, for me? And I know, I'm sorry, everybody else probably knows kind of how all this works, but I've never done it before.
Sure. In terms of the investment side, or what would you like more clarity on? Sorry.
Just the investment side.
The investment side? Sure. So the investment piece is, so a convertible note is often used in between what they call series round raises, which are typically in those series rounds are priced rounds, which means somebody comes in as a lead investor. Maybe they co-invest with others to syndicate the round, but they kind of collectively, or the lead will decide on what they think the value of the company is at that point. So it becomes sort of a snapshot. Our pre-money valuation on the Series A, meaning before we got our Series A money, we had a $17 million valuation. Obviously, once we brought that $5 million in our Series A, our current valuation became $22 million. So what we do with the convertible note is before we price the next round, so whether it's a $50 million valuation, $100 million valuation, or $30 million valuation, we entered into this note. So the convertible note allows investors to invest in these intermediate period, but with preferred rates or preferred terms than the subsequent series raise. So in other words, the 20% discount means that if our valuation is at 40 million, the valuation at which you would receive options would be 20% less that. In other words, you'd get a discount on that. So more options for your money prior to that series raise. The other piece of this is it is actually a debt vehicle. So it is something that does accrue interest over time. So there is a 5% interest tied to that. So at the maturity date, that interest is sort of accumulated, and we track that over time. But that becomes sort of the call date. So by and large, our opening up this convertible note is a way to continue to raise money and do it in a way that is incentivizing others to join and invest at this period of time, as opposed to potentially waiting to a subsequent series raise when and if somebody could get into that round. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Hey, Scott, Chris Obrey. Just no questions, really, just a couple of comments. First, just great presentation. I think this was a great overview. I've been in healthcare now for 28 years and in GI for, the last 15, and really happy to be a part of what you guys are doing from an investor standpoint and also as an operating partner and advisor. I think we are always looking in healthcare for things that are clinically valuable to patients, that are operationally non-disruptive and easy to implement, and that create good financial outcomes as well. It's hard to find those things, but this is one of them. And so, it's great. I love the excitement on the call. I loved the conversation earlier about boiling water. I think boiling water is good. I think trying to boil the ocean is a little bit different. And so I think as you guys are staying really hyper focused on, what your immediate goals are, what your immediate tract is around the GI, I think is really good. And I'll just end by saying I'm as excited about what you guys are doing as I have been about anything to hit the GI space in a while. So keep up the good work, and I'm glad to be here.
Thanks, Chris. And thanks for joining.
Chris.
I appreciate you, the kind words.
I have a question. Can I give it to you?
Please do.
Okay. I'm an otolaryngologist who's done a lot of endoscopies in my life. I'm wondering if you have a position to present it to the Academy of Gastroenterology, when they have a meeting with almost all the gastroenterologists in the country, how they would respond to your presentation.
Steve?
I can maybe start a little bit.
Please.
And that is, here they go again. And that is that I mentioned the Imaging Center in French, IHU, and they basically are a government-sponsored huge enterprise that is devoted to imaging and surgery as a combination. And imaging is the key part of it, including MRI, CT. They have selected our technology as the ultrasound platform for their endeavors. And so that's why when you heard me talk about laparoscopy, interventions in the abdomen, I talked about OBGYN. Well, it turns out one of the professors of ENT there is likewise interested in using the technology, for example, in transsphenoidal kinds of interventions. And so, the landscape is as broad as the imagination. Are these things all going to come to fruition? Surely not. Do I know the time frame? I don't. But what I do know is that there's a great deal of excitement in the idea that adding additional imaging capability to a variety of surgical interventions opens opportunities that haven't necessarily been available to date.
Yeah,
And I want to jump in because Steve's being a little humble there, I think. You had mentioned opportunities to present in front of other gastroenterologists and what they think. Part of one of those milestones that Scott had mentioned earlier was the AGA and ASGE Innovations of the Year. Those were voted on by gastroenterologists. Steve presented to a large auditorium of gastroenterologists, potential investors, et cetera. And we won. We won the Shark Tank. We won their Innovations of the Year. And then AGA, I don't know if you were on during this mention, but the AGA is one of our largest societies, made up of gastroenterologists, and they invested a significant amount of money into our Series A. So we have presented to lots of gastroenterologists. There is a ton of buzz in the space, and the response has been quite favorable.
That's what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Perfect. Thank you.
One last thing too. Sorry, I mentioned this earlier, but I just think this is so super cool because I've never been a part of something like this where we've been a company where they let their users or their community invest. But again, those 6 users that have invested into our company because they used our device and said, "Can I invest?" I think is pretty validating as well. It says that we're going in the right direction, and they're using Gen 1. And I want to reiterate those investments were made in the last 45 days. So they've been users for 6 to 9 months. We opened up an opportunity for them to invest, and they invested. As it pertains to an idea, we have over 20 gastroenterologists on our cap table. So as an idea, we had lots of people say, "Yeah, you know what? This is something the market needs. This is something that we need in our space."
Excellent.
Hey, Josh, are you guys attending the AFS, American Foregut Society? Is there potentially a good fit there? I think there is. You're muted, Josh.
Yeah.
What I said was awesome. I'm joking. Sorry. No, we go to 2 big meetings a year. So we go to ACG, we go to DDW. We visit some of the smaller society meetings or some of the other meetings in person, and we network. But we'd have no plans to attend that particular meeting. But potentially we talk offline, and maybe it's a good idea.
Yes, you got a mix of GIs and surgeons.
Yeah.
In the Foregut Society, so
it's a great event for sure. I've been in the past numerous times. It may be something we should look further into for sure.
Yeah, one of our investors is actually early investors, not users. I believe is a foregut surgeon. You could correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, or maybe you don't know who I'm talking about, but who also does endoscopy and endoscopic ultrasound. He's definitely a surgeon.
Yeah, and he's very to the SAGES, for example.
Yep.
Yeah, big name. That's right.
Okay. Any other questions in our last minute or so here? Okay, well, we thank everybody extensively for joining today. We really appreciate it. We appreciate the thoughtful comments and questions. We're always happy to field those. If there are any other questions, feel free to post those on our Wefunder site. We try to answer those within 24 hours or so. But please feel free to engage as much as you'd like to make sure you feel comfortable with your investment decision. So with that,
you're still on the Wefunder site. Is that what you're saying?
We are still on the Wefunder site, correct? Yes. Okay. So we have we're actively still raising on that crowdfunding site.
So that would probably be the way to, that would be the way to go right now.
Yeah, we do believe that would be the way to go. We're going to close the round when it reaches our goal, which is we're not too far away. But we want to reach our goal and as quickly as possible. I was going to suggest you go back to the QR code, Scott, and I could put in the chat, or Patrick, if you could put in the chat, the wefunder.com/EndoSound, just for folks to see it there as well. But the goal is to have these investments go through Wefunder, and hopefully we get to close that round here in the next month or so.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Sure, thank you. Okay, well, with that, we thank everybody again. We look forward to staying in communication, and we hope you can join our team as we progress forward down and hit our next series of milestones. Thanks all.
Good luck.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Take
Bye.
care.